well, perhaps, Mr. Chairman, if I can just explain, this is normally this is a standard item that comes to you on each council agenda, and it's really just to give you an opportunity to familiarise yourself with what we're doing at a broad level in terms of staff, so that if you do get questioned by your constituents, you have some familiarity with what we're doing.
Council's put still in some empty spaces on here.
You're doing that already.
Microphone. You
I was
have
just being a bit facetious. I was saying, can councillors put in some notes in here, fill in some spaces in here?
enlighten me.
Put some jobs on the staff for them to do over the next 3 months.
Oh, right.
This isn't the full step, councillor.
I see what you mean. Questions, queries, happy with the format, understand it, would like more, whatever?
It's fine, it's very useful. It's not very often we have a lot of discussion on it, but
No.
people know what's
happening, yeah. Sure. So any questions?
Motion to adopt it.
Yes.
I move the adopt the report. I second.
Councillor Pipe seconded. Further discussion? Put that motion in. All those in favour, please say aye. Contrary, no. Minor items not on the agenda, starting with...
What about Chairman's report?
I'm just following the order of the agenda, yeah. I've been kicked a touch, Councillor, probably appropriately, last one. LG&Z workshop, Councillor Hewitt.
So a number of us attended the workshop, some for 1 day, some for 2 days, yesterday and the day before, and just some feedback. It was interesting. It was a very broad brush, low level workshop on intro to local government, but for the cost of it, I would suggest that the buy-in of other councillors who are attending is ensured, because for $595 per head of ratepayer money, I think you're either in or you're out.
Thank you. I need to explain that further, I think. Councillor Belford, Our Place. Microphone, please.
This is the November Our Place, which has gone to how many ratepayers? 55,000, 60,000. On page 5 of it is the infamous picture of the spectacular new lake that we're creating in Central Hawke's Bay, and since people don't have this in front of them, indulge me to read a paragraph of it. What about the recreation potential from a new lake an hour's drive from Hastings? That's an exciting prospect. The crescent-shaped lake created to store water in Central Hawke's Bay is expected to be about 7 kilometers long. It would be ideal for water skiing, rowing, kayaking, wakaama, and sailing. The inlets and bays following the shape of the lakeshore would create numerous fishing spots for anglers. To put it in perspective, the lake is expected to be twice the size of Lake Tatira, a significant asset for Hawke's Bay. Now, our former chief executive and our chairman of HBRC said to us the other day, this is nonsense. And this is what we are selling in our names to the people of Hawke's Bay. I think it's absolutely outrageous that we're doing something like this. This is basically fraudulent. None of this is going to be possible. We have a lake that's going to go up and down 20 meters. The two people most responsible for progressing this project admitted as much in our session the other day, and yet to the average punter who doesn't pay any attention, with all due respect to Hawke's Bay Today or most publications out here, if they get this thing, this is the official party line of Hawke's Bay Regional Council as to a deliverable that would come out of this project. And I've had people come up to me and say, "Why would you?" "Oh, I'm going to get my boat down there. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. This is going to be wonderful." It's a lie.
Mr.
Chairman, I'm going to raise a point of order. This item cannot be debated. It cannot be discussed. It is raising a matter, and the proper way to raise it would be to request that an item bringing back an explanation as to how that's going to be
happy
appropriate.
to
I'm sorry,
propose-
none of us can actually comment, or no feedback can be given at this time. It is an item of minor business. So.
But Councillor Balfour has stated his view of it,
And it
that's fine.
it is an appropriate agenda item, I would suggest, for the corporate committee. If communications comes under the ambit of the corporate and strategy committee, we have a meeting coming up of that committee. I thought there was a recognition the other day that this sort of thing was not going to happen.
Okay.
Thank you.
Point of order.
Point of order. Second point of order. I didn't accept the first one, but you
I'm
you can
speaking to
have
the
a go.
point of order.
No, well, it hasn't been accepted, so there's
Well-
nothing to speak to, Councillor Barker.
Well, I'm going to
But can I circumvent, if I can? I'm not sure exactly what you're going to say, but there is a sense of this is our meeting as council, right?
Yes.
And how we conduct our business has been based on where we've come from, some statute, all sorts of other stuff. The appropriateness of raising this here, it could be debated, perhaps, and I suspect that's where you're going with this. How the question I suspect you're going to ask, I should let you ask it, I guess. I may do. Is how do you get this stuff out in the open to have a discussion about it? Is that correct?
almost.
Rather than having a novella to deal with.
Excuse me, can I just draw your attention to the standing order that covers this?
So it may be discussed.
It can be discussed.
But no decisions
but
are
no
made.
decision
Yeah,
or
okay.
resolution.
But that was my point is that the standing orders are for us, the 9 councillors, to determine how we interact with each other. And what we have here, I think, is a philosophical discussion at the bottom of this, is to whether we're going to let the standing orders enhance and facilitate debate or be used to restrict them. And I get the point entirely that there are ways and correct ways, there are pathways which things need to be raised. And I just want to, if we're going to have this discussion, I think councillors need to know clearly where they have issues of concern, where they can raise them, have the debate in this forum, so we can all discuss them in the open, and then having had the discussion, it may be that there is no resolution at the end of it. But I do think if we run the risk of pushing this council into a different direction if we do not allow the free and frank flow of views on certain topics.
I think a solution for this particular issue has been delivered by Councillor Balfour, and that's around communication, full stop. And I think that's a discussion this council needs to have. So that's fine. And if it starts at the corporate and strategic meeting in a few weeks' time, that's good. In relation to your particular issue, how do we deal with that?
We deal with that by having a general consensus about how we raise these issues. And you as the chair have the responsibility of the leadership of saying, this falls in this way, I'm going to allow the debate because it's helpful, I'm not going to allow the debate because there's a clear thing. And when you did not accept the point of order, you're indicating to me that you prefer to have the discussion open, but not uncontrolled, rather than close it down.
Well, rather to close it down on that particular point, I think that this particular issue has got a pathway now, and I think that's appropriate. And on that basis, let's move on to item 3, which is your questions around the dams.
There's been an issue raised by a number of farmers that the cost of them putting water storage on their own properties themselves privately is prohibitive. Part of it is about the cost of compliance, the cost of engineering, and the cost that the regional council imposes on them. Now, we have on the one hand a general view accepted around this table that we are at certain times of the year short on water, and that water storage is a good idea. We all agree on that. There are a range of ideas about what may be done. One of them is the Ruataniwha Water Storage Scheme. There have been other occasions when we have suggested that individual farmers or collections of farms put in place their own water storage schemes to help address the issue. What I have heard is that the costs are a barrier. So I would like us to have some thought about this. Here on one hand, we're prepared to invest large sums of money to build water storage. On the other hand, we've got people saying that the costs you're imposing on us are too high. So I would like us to have some analysis of the costs, outline what the costs are that the council has for undertaking water storage. I'd like for us to have an indication over the last 10 years how many applications or how many initiatives have been put forward to the regional council on water storage, how many have gone forward, how many have not, and a view of the officers on whether we are doing enough or not enough to encourage water storage in private land. And there might be a policy decision that the council might like to come back to on this as to what we can do to encourage or maintain the status quo. There's a lot of things we could do in this space, but it seems to me that there's an opportunity here.
Notes being furiously taken down there, thank you. Mangaroro Marae visit, Mr Mohi.
Mr Chair, I didn't realise that you and Councillor Graham were actually going to the proposed hui. The proposed hui next Wednesday. Everybody will realise there's been a lot of water issues at Bridge Pa, which is the Mangaroro, it's one of the marae there. And the topic for next Wednesday is community aspirations for water. So can I just suggest that the councillors report back as I would be prepared to do myself.
EPA hearing, Councillor Scott.
The Chairman, a very interesting process, and if you really want to be informed on what's going on, it's a good place to get the information first-hand. I think all councillors would do well to avail themselves of a copy of our council's opening remarks. It certainly set the scene for where we're at following all the expert caucusing. So anyone who wants to get up to date as to what was agreed to in that expert caucusing and where the issues still lie, they should avail themselves of Mr Robinson's opening remarks. It's not a very big document. Only took him a few hours to deliver it in a very slow and measured voice. But it certainly is very informative if you want to know.
This is the council submission plan change 6.
No, it was both on jointly on both of them. He's acting for both council and HBRC.
Okay.
And then we have 2 further lawyers assisting him, one for council and one for HBRC.
Thank you. Right, and the last, possibly least item, the Chairman's monthly report. Now, I think we've had one round of this. This is basically some of the issues I've been dealing with in the last month. It's a fairly snapshot view. If I could give you a couple of general comments at the beginning, I felt the meeting I had with the Twyford irrigators was useful and constructive, and look forward to more meetings to come. Obviously have a whole heap of other meetings, etc. than this. I deal with constituents, etc. along the way, but this is just a snapshot of where we're at. Priorities in the month ahead, and I have written this since the Local Government Commission announcement, but I think those 2 issues there probably going to consume most of my time till our next meeting. So, any questions?
Thank you for the report, Chair. It is a bare bones report. I was wondering if you would care to add a few things into it. I'd be happy to, like for example the Radio Live interview. What was it about? I've got no idea about that. And just some sort of commentary, like you met with John Bostock and the Twyford group. It was an excellent meeting, progress this to that, a couple of comments so we can get a feel for what happened. At the moment, all I know is you met with them. I don't know what happened. It doesn't have to be an extensive report. I'm not looking to cross-examine and interrogate you on it, but just makes it a more useful report.
Verbally to accommodate today. Yeah. Radio Live, I normally have a meeting with Richard Lowe, or a discussion with Richard Lowe. who I've met a few times, and he runs the farming. It's a farming orientated show. Richard Lowe, they call him the Bionic Man now. He was off getting a couple of new knees or something at the time. So he was a new guy, and we basically talked about the Board of Inquiry process and how that had kicked off, etc., which was pretty straightforward stuff. And the outcome of the meeting with Johnny Bostock, I also had a tour of one of the orchards and got right down in amongst some of the issues that they'd faced in the drought and frustrations they'd experienced and issues they wanted some go forward on. And as a result of that meeting with this particular orchard owner, who's severely affected in that piece of property that was constrained for water in the drought. I'm not sure if there has been a follow-up meeting with Mr. Maxwell and that particular group of growers, but I felt that was sort of the opening for that discussion, and I found that quite rewarding. Where we go with it and how far we get will be further discussion, but the lines of communication, we're looking forward, not backwards. The lines of communication are wide open, and that's a good thing. So
yeah, and look, the feedback, Chair, from those people who attended those meetings is that they were very pleased to have had the opportunity to meet with you and get a better understanding of some of their issues. Sorry.
Okay. In regard to your request, Councillor Barker, yeah, you're right. No, it could do with some fleshing out. So take that on board.
The only thing is, and it hasn't always happened, there has only been a chairman's report for, well, the last 1.5 terms. And the other constraint is that it needs to be timely and up to date. So, you're telling us what you did up to yesterday. So I think that imposes some constraints on the amount of written material that's there, but all the topics are there and there's nothing stopping anyone from asking you questions in the course of the item. But it's your report, your call.
Well, I think as long as everyone broadly agrees with the concept of a snapshot of what your chairman's been up to, happy to continue it, happy to flesh it out a bit more as I can, and happy for someone to move it be accepted, unless there's more questions. Councillor Graham, Councillor Scott, any discussion? Put that motion, then all those in favour please say aye. The contrary, no. Carried. And now I have a late notice from Mr. Adey before we wind up proceedings. So
okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just a quick note and perhaps even a little show of hands to see who's interested. I'm proposing a field trip on the Thursday the 19th of December, and that would sort of be leaving here 8:30, I think, roughly. Yet to be confirmed, probably a quick visit to our Civil Defence Centre, a little bit around Heretaunga Plains, including the work we are doing with some of the Maori groups, as well as weed boating and other things that I can arrange. Back here for lunch, and then probably Tangoio, where they will have commenced a process probably of the roading associated with the harvest, and out to Waihapua, our property there, and Tutera Country Park and the high UMF Manukau there, and back here by 4:30 or 5. So that's the broad picture. Anybody that's interested, I'll fire out a notice in the next couple of days, hopefully, and look forward to your feedback. Thanks.
Thank you. So it's the 19th of December?
Thursday the 19th.
Okay.
Yep.
And after that I'll give you the rest of the year off, Council. Okay. There being business attended to and finished, I'll call the meeting to a close. Thank you very much.
When's the Christmas party?